right, time to get down to business for the two boxing events of the Latino division in Saudi Arabia on November the 16th in Saudi Arabia. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about the Arlington, Texas Jake Paul and Mike Tyson Netflix pay-per-view match on November the 15th. And man, oh man, guys, there's a lot of information in these two shows. And even though I did not watch the Latino event, that doesn't stop me from saying there's actually more to this than what I'm looking at as we speak. There's a lot more to this, and there's a lot of controversies and a lot of bad misfortunes here as we speak. So before we get to the information, guys, we do like to point out some controversies before we get down to business. And I want to make sure, just to let you viewers know, I did not bought Netflix at the time during the moment of the famous boxing match. So as the history goes, guys, since 1997, since Netflix was involved, mostly at the time we've already had a record of 90,000 people actually bought the pay-per-view on Netflix at the time. After having problems with air connections, and every time that they're ready to box, connections would go out and servers would just have problems in the sites. And even when the scorecards came in, the match, everything came down really bad because the overshadow of technical glitches and everything else happening, and even a lot of news reports from technicals of glitches and bare butts have already been having problems as we speak. So for the first ever live boxing event in a Netflix, let's just make this to be our last as we speak. And as we speak about this right now, we did got everything done for the money making here, considering for everything that we've also talked about a couple hours ago. Black America Web pointed out the Mike Tyson losses to both Jake Paul and Father Time in unnecessary Netflix live boxing, with social media reacting, considering how that they had to witness a huge discrepancies, because not only technical difficulties were in problem, ladies and gentlemen, the world title matches had a lot of controversies due to robberies and, most importantly, favoritism of the judges. And even though I don't want to point this out, we also pointed out that Katie Taylor is number 2 in the world as of today, as Dina Thorsland, 23-0, I think it was. 23-0 is the greatest boxer pound for pound as we speak, with Amanda Serrano still at number 3. With competition, guys, we've been having a little bit of controversy due to the judges in competition, with Nathan Palmer, and also having a little bit of Jesse Reyes involved in competition, Lisa Giampa, and also Lawrence Cole became referee a couple times in a non-title fight and the main event. So with all that being said, guys, as for the Latino, we'll get to that information sooner than later. So in hindsight, guys, this is the competition. The main card of competition, I will get through this as quickly as I can, with all due to respect. All due to respect with the schedule. The scheduled fight had a record of 7 fights. The first 3 fights were live on YouTube as preliminary bouts, so you can watch them on YouTube. The other 4 were main card from Netflix. So the first fight was a guy named Bruce Carrington taking on Dana Coolwell in a 6-round fight. And surprisingly, there was nothing you could say about it, because as being in an 8-round fight, he took down a good amount of runs. He knocked out his opponent, and Bruce Carrington is a 14-0 fighter in the featherweight. As of right now, it's 14-0. He's now number 11 in the world as the Shoo as his alias. So it's going to be an interesting start. After watching the second fight of the lightweight, Lucas Baudi taking on Armando Casamanica, did had a little bit of a controversial moment. And even though I did voted for Lucas to go 18-0 in this fight, there were some problems in the fight where as it looked like that Lucas had the game in the bag after he dominated the first 3 rounds, he was outboxed away in round 4, round 6, 7. Geesh. And he was around an 8, 9, and probably like round 5 was another round I couldn't find much. Even though he finished round 10 with a bang, I had it 95 even. Like at that moment, it was an embarrassment to see him get outboxed because it seemed like he was from round 4 to round 9. He seemed like he was outboxed away in some of those rounds, and even though it was a hard fight to judge, surprisingly, he got the majority decision. 95 even with the other two, 96, 93, 98, 92. So pretty much. And then we go to Shadisia Green, a woman that was 14-0, lost against Franchon Cruz Dazerne, is now coming back to fight against Melinda Watpool, also a woman that's also 35 years old than her from Canada. As a champion in Canada in amateur, Shadisia is a basketball player. So when you have those two types of styles of women that are in their mid 30s in their own way, you could say to yourself that Shadisia had it. And to be honest, it was a pretty close fight. Coming to round 1, she was doing a good job. Like the first couple rounds weren't that much. Like Shadisia Green went on with Melinda, took her to school a couple times in the first couple rounds, and they weren't a lot of entertainment. She was just throwing jabs, scaring her opponent away. Keep this in mind, Shadisia Green was going clockwise, counterclockwise, spinning while Melinda was in the middle of the ring, just trying to cut her off as she did sometimes. And it was like, oh boy, so we're just going to get a little bit of another, like a Hyunmi Choi losing her first fight last April against a Canadian. And it was a big bummer because it was a waste of time. That's what I felt when watching this fight. And surprisingly, Melinda Watpool held herself really good in round 3, round 4, round 5. He put himself together in a good position like no other boxer did, and he did an amazing job. Like after demolishing round 3, 4, and 5, and after round 6, when Shadisia came back and threw a heavy punch that stumbled her opponent, and she threw one of the wildest punches straight to the head. And these were punches they were throwing ahead. And even when they did try to throw body punches, they would be clinching while doing it. Like they were just throwing punches to the head. And Shadisia, keep this in mind, she's dancing, she's going on. Melinda is just holding herself, just throwing everything she can. And by round 7, surprisingly, we had a close round in round 7 of just seeing Melinda dominate as she did. And she went on. And then in round 8, we had a really boring round, which didn't have a lot of entertainment to it. But Shadisia managed to outbox some punches in that round once in a while, and she managed to hold herself pretty good. And then we come to round 9, and like Melinda, she just did an amazing job as for everything she did. And like I said, they were just doing combinations after combinations. Every time they go to the core ring, she just goes through the attack. You go to round 10 for the final round, and round 10 was one of the most surprising round wins I would ever say to Melinda. She did a good job. She finished it strong, and I gave her 96-94, scoring round 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10. There's just no way that Shadisia had won 6 rounds, let alone you could say 5 rounds, but there's no way that Shadisia had it. And surprisingly, one judge named Jeremy Hayes did had it 96-94. Jesse Reyes, he had 96-94 in favor of Shadisia. But the first judge, which is a female judge, Lisa Giampa, favored it 97-93 Shadisia, which she was the first judge being scored by the announcer. before they went to Jeremy Hayes, a second, and then Jesse Reyes ended it with a 2-0. Believe me, guys, Jesse Reyes has a lot more controversy to talk about later as we speak, because I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say about this. So yes, guys, TV, YouTube preliminary card, live stream on YouTube was already done. So now we go to the main card, Netflix, and the super middleweight of the opening main event was a YouTuber named Whindersson Nunes in his debut. Brazilian YouTuber, comedian, actor, musician, taking on Niraj GLOAT, an India guy that had no business being in the ring, except he had over 18 wins, a handful of losses, like barely a couple hands, but still a couple draws. Like, he was out of boxing for nothing. And surprisingly, he went into this fight and he did it. He dominated 6 rounds to defeat Nunes, and that was it. So take that for what you will. It was good for what it was for the start, but yet again, I just like, at this moment, guys, I'm already 3 for 4 right now out of 7 fights, and if I could just get one more point, I would be in the game. Guys, Mario Barrios taking on Abel Ramos, a guy with 28 wins, 6 losses, 2 draws. His last 6 fights were a win, loss, loss, and his last fight was a win. Those were his last 6 fights. Mario Barrios is 29-2, and his last 6 fights was a win, loss, and his last 3 fights were a win. And those 2 losses came around the time when he was actually the WBA lightweight champion. But by June of 2021, Gervonta Davis knocked him out a few amount of times in round 8, and he got involved with an illegal punch and a cut above his eye. And in round 11, he got knocked down, and the fight was stopped in that 11th round. He took on Keith Thurman a year later in February and lost in 12 rounds by unanimous decision. And now he's coming back in 2023, had a couple fights. He defeated Yordenis Ugas as he went up to the welterweight after his loss against Keith, and he takes on another guy for the WBC interim world welterweight title this May, taking on Abel. Abel's career had nothing to do, and after the first couple rounds, it seemed like Mario had him. He got him in the first, he knocked him down in the second, he dominated 3 more rounds, and he had him. Like, what else can you say? Well, this is when the tables turn. Abel knocked him down in round 6. And even though I haven't seen the fight footage yet, but yet again, I don't want to, because I was thinking Mario Barrios was going to become a 2-time weight class champion. But after watching this and the scores and knowing the information right now, I just don't want to plan on watching the footage. Like, he gets his butt dominated in round 7. Abel dominates 2 more rounds to win 4 in a row. And then in round 7, Mario does come back. Somehow he did squeak that round in. And the final 2 rounds he won. But there's nothing I could say. I had the score 115-111 favor. And one judge, like Mike Ross, had it a better 116-110. Javier Alvarez had 114-112 for Abel. And Douglas Robinson had it 113 even. I don't get it. By the way, guys, I do feel bad when I later learn history that a YouTuber channel named Most Vulnerable Promotion had a video last month ago called Amanda Serrano Doesn't Think Kate Taylor will want third fight. And after watching this, and people are making comments right now, oh, great, and great boxing from Taylor, go cry, 2-0, baby, and, well, I guess people hate Puerto Ricans all through. It's like, guys, at this moment, this is the moment where controversy bits you in the butt forever in boxing. This is the moment where things got worse. It seemed like this fight was brought to the devil itself, and destroyed the Netflix because of this fight. We come into this fight with Katie Taylor defending out her undisputed fight with Amanda Serrano. And guys, I said this before, even if Amanda Serrano doesn't win, I would let her just say, forget it. Just don't go nowhere. Just accept defeat and just go to the next weight class and take on to break Manny Pacquiao's 8 weight class championship. She could do that. She could go to 140 pounds and over and go 8-time weight class. And I could see her doing it and dominating the legend itself that was the former undisputed welterweight 4 years ago. So do it. At this moment, I don't even know if Serrano even wants to do it, considering how old she is, but she could do it. I just think no one wants to see her do nothing. It's like this was a failure to begin with. But guys, so the judges are Jeremy Hayes, of course. Well, he did favor Melinda Watpool, so I gotta give him credit for that. Nathan Palmer. Well, Nathan Palmer did favor my Lucas Bowdy fight and helped on, well, God knows who. And Jesse Rees favors Shadecia Green. And like, yeah, I don't even know what to say about this. So there's going to be a lot of interesting competition that might get me here. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say because this was a travesty to begin with. Because, guys, we know Amanda Serrano won this fight, but I'm just upset that this is what we got. We got a huge problem here in this fight. So the fight starts out with both of the women. They both carry each other and they're starting jabbing out at each other. They're just stunning each other in the early parts of the round. So that's what they're doing. And they're not going for nothing crazy until a minute and 50 seconds into the first round, before we get the 10-second clap, warning for 10 seconds, Katie throws a right upstairs. And as Katie is now stuck in the corner, Amanda moves forward, studies a right, and just throws a left straight into the temple of Katie and stumbles to the ropes. And she's out, and she just throws out punches, ends the round. At this moment, Katie is now in trouble, and this was like that punch Amanda threw, no wonder she was a knockout killer. And even though she hasn't done a lot of knockouts for the last few years, she did score a knockout this year in July against a nobody. But yeah, no wonder she had what it takes to be a champion. We come to round 2 and they both study each other. And Amanda is, like I said, she's throwing out punches and jabs, and Katie's trying to back her away. And Katie did manage to put a good offensive approach to her, as she did. And with only 30 seconds left in the second round, she managed to study her opponent as best as she can, and she managed to land a little bit better shots in that second round, and it seemed like a good winning round. The professional scores did say that Katie Taylor won that round, but yet again, I gave it to Amanda, and well, a lot of the judges gave it to Taylor, and I gave it to Amanda. It was, and then we go to round 3, and it was actually same thing. Like, Taylor wasn't throwing a lot of punches in round 3, but there were times she did land in some good combinations, and Serrano was just throwing some fake jabs once in a while as trying to study her opponent. And there were some even jabs in the fight, even though she did throw a little bit more jabs in third, but there weren't much to talk about. It was another close round, and Taylor did had that round. Like, I couldn't tell who landed the most punches, other than Taylor had a lot more of a cleaner space in that third round than other judges. You can say that Amanda won that round, and I could say it too, but it seemed like Taylor did had round 3 in the bag a little bit, but at the same time, it seemed like she had a lot more of an interesting skill set, because she was in the defensive side, and Amanda, every time you're in the offensive side, sometimes the defensive person could land some good shots on you. And Even though Katie did throw a lot of punches in the third round, it seemed like she did a better job. We go to round four, and she goes on, and with only 30 seconds in the fight, Amanda corners her to the ropes, and they're throwing barrages of punches. They're throwing every single punch. They're clinching each other. And there's times I'm seeing Katie almost trying to headbutt her opponent or something like that. But the punches and the swings and the punches in the fourth round were so crazy. Like, even though it was a close round for what it was another close round for Taylor until even when seeing her clinch Amanda to the ropes and she's throwing headbutts onto her, and 30 seconds left in the fight, there was a timeout where we had a little bit of a moment where the referee had a little bit of a timeout due to something happen. Yeah, again, it was another close round, which was close enough. We come to round five, and it was another round that looked like, well, I wouldn't say it was bad, but it looked like Amanda might have won round four. So I gave it to her because she had a little bit of good offensive sides. Round five was mostly Katie Taylor, or so maybe it was, depending on who you ask. But yet again, round five was another round that was somewhat out of the crossroads because after this moment of 5 rounds, there was a time where I thought maybe after everything went on, because round five was another good round for Taylor. Don't get me wrong, but as a perspective, I would say for all of it being necessary, I wouldn't really say there was nothing much to say about other than anyone else would say that this round was won by Taylor. This was won by. At the end of the day, it was a really pretty decent fight. Even coming into the sixth round, Taylor found the groove in round six, and even though some of the scorecarders at the time had it, like even though some people in the scorecards at the time did had it 49-46, and even though there are times that Taylor and Serrano had some interesting moments in round five because Serrano threw it over 100 to 200 punches, maybe 300, and Taylor had under 200 punches landed. But yet again, it seemed like Serrano's punching in round five was hard because, guys, like I said before, female boxing is really hard to judge when you see females doing nothing but just throwing punches. And so, like, when you see the punches they thrown in round five, like, yeah, could you blame them for thinking that Serrano might have won a few of those rounds in the fight? Because, like, yes, you come to round six, she managed to outbox her, and even though, like, at this moment after 6 rounds, I had Serrano round one, round two, and round three and round four. I mean round four and round five, and round three and round six for Taylor. Like I said before, guys, this was a really hard fight to judge. But yeah, again, it seemed like Serrano was doing better than her, even though there's a time where Katie Taylor threw an interesting punch combination around 45 seconds into the sixth round, and we had a cut below to the right eye of Serrano. But yet again, we had a timeout of that fight. But yet again, I didn't really find nothing dangerous other than it was another good round. But yet again, it seemed like Taylor's punching and her queenness did gave her a little bit of an edge in the fight a little bit. But then come round seven, and it was on. Like, say what you want to about round seven, like, Serrano seemed like she was on the edge of a surprising fight because she was fighting for her life in that title. With 50 seconds left of the seventh round, we're having great punches from upstairs, and it was the time that she was cornering Amanda to the ropes at that point, and and she was sticking her head out for repeated headbutts to her eye, and 15 seconds left of the fight, and Taylor and Serrano, like, it was a really tough fight. It was like, it was tough enough that you just had to look at it from the perspective of who was winning this fight. And Taylor, don't get me wrong, Taylor had that edge in round 7 a little bit, and she was hurting her opponent, but she was actually cheating time and time due to the headbutts. So it was going to get worse in round 8 because 20 seconds in the fight, we're having Taylor getting cornered to the corner with Serrano, and she's throwing out punches, and she was doing better combinations. And then with 45 seconds into that fight, 15 seconds later, Taylor throws a couple punch combinations, just goes under and headbutts her to the chin, and the referee gives her a warning. The camera cuts to the eye, and ugh. And then 30 seconds left of the fight, a half minute later, we're just having some rubbing and some crazy beatdowns, and she's just, and to keep this in mind, Katie Taylor, they're not clinching each other. She's actually rubbing her head straight into her injured eye, and the referee deducts her a point with almost 10 seconds left. And at this moment, the crowd is out of control. There's a guy with a gray suit on the top of the screen. He's just losing his mind in craziness. And at this moment, round 8, a lot of people judged round 8 was an interesting round, but a lot of fans said that round 8 was just a 9-9 round, which, sure, but I gave it a 10-8 round because it seemed like Serrano did better, I guess. We come to round 9, and Taylor was hurting out her opponent more than she did, and the 9th round seemed like it was going to be a dead round for Serrano, and she did got outboxed. But keep this in mind, guys. After 9 rounds of competition, this is what we got. So, guys, Nathan Palmer, his score is 86-84, favoring Taylor, which means if Serrano does get the 10th round and Nathan gives it to her, it's going to be 95-94 for Taylor. The other two judges had it 85-85, even. Jesse Reyes and Jeremy Hayes, which means if Serrano can dominate this last round, then they'll give her 10-10. The score will be 95-94, which means it will be favored for Serrano. This is what happened. Serrano was in that last round like a beast. She went on, threw down punches, and yet again, like said, let's ignore that moment 20 seconds ago where she was. Guys, if I had to keep talking about how many headbutts we had for Taylor and her dirtiness, oh brother, you'll be out of your mind. Serrano was throwing out connected punches like no other woman was doing, and Taylor was fighting back, and Serrano's bloody eye, and 10 seconds left of the fight. The final 20 seconds were all bloody, and she's cornering Serrano to the ropes, and she is doing it, but Serrano is throwing out more punches than she did in that 10th round. And then she pushes Taylor away from her, only for Taylor to charge her back and just slam her body to the corner with her head again. Jesus, what the heck, man. This was a dirty fight. Taylor did not deserve to win that. It was a good 10th round for Serrano, but guess what happened? Nathan Palmer, Jesse Reyes, and Jeremy Hayes had it 95-95. So Nathan Palmer gave Serrano the 10-9 score in that final round. The other two gave it 10-9 for Taylor. My score was 96-93. Serrano winning round 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, and 10, with a 1-point abducting in round 10. In round 8. Making it 96-93. These judges all gave it 95-94. You're telling me that Nathan Palmer thought, you know what, I'll give Serrano the 10th round even though Taylor won this fight in my score, but the other two gave it 95-94, with the final round being it for Taylor. What the hell, man? And people in the comments are calling Serrano a crybaby because they'll never see a trilogy match for a third fight? Jesus Christ. Dude, no wonder people hate Puerto Ricans. It's so bad. Taylor was hurting Serrano out with so many dangerous headbutts and so much injuries that this was a really sloppy challenge fight. Guys, Serrano won this fight easily since the start of round one to the end. For reasons why they gave it to Taylor, I'll never know why. To this very day, we'll never know. I just don't know why they had to ruin a great moment that was about to get worse. And it's about to get worse right now as I'm speaking of this. So, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson live. The highlights, the career killers, the Iron Mike, the problem child. What else can you say about this, guys? Guys, so before we get to the fight, the history goes as this. Before they give us the national anthem, they give us this. They give us a highlight reel of Jake Paul's knockouts, and the crowd boos. And then they give us highlight clips of Tyson, and they're loving it. These old clips. Keep this in mind, guys. Paul is 27, Tyson's 58, and he has a record of 50 wins, 6 losses, 2 no contests, 6 of those losses, and 5 of them being by knockout, 1 DQ for the ear bite of Evander Holyfield 2 fight. Jake Paul, 10 wins, a lot of good knockouts, and 1 loss for Tommy Fury, which we don't know where he is in 2024. And this was crazy. So, guys, David Lakabusi has already been in the judge. He favored my opponent with Niraj Goyat and helped out my win with Bruce Carrington with dominating wins. So, David Labuzzi is doing a good job as we speak. My bad. I wasn't talking about Bruce Harrington. I was talking about his Lucas Body fight because he favored my opponent. While Lawrence Cole favored one judge in the fight, scoring it for Bruce Harrington in a dominating fashion. Jesse Riaz is back in the judge. Mark Kalooi is also the referee. Man, guys, thank God Lisa Giampa is not involved as the judge in this fight. And if you viewers are probably wondering, do you want to know who Lisa Giampa is? Well, guys, people might not know who she is, but she is known for by one of the greatest moments that happened in women's boxing history. And that great moment that people will never talk about was the October 27, 2023, Amanda Serrano defeating Daniela Ramos in a 12-round 3-minute fight. The first time in women's boxing history we got a 12-round 3-minute fight in a world featherweight fight. And it was all domination. So take that for what you will. So the fight... But anyway, this has nothing to do with the fight. So, guys, Netflix, everything going down. It's already turned to crap. But, hey, we can watch the highlights. Thank God I didn't buy the Netflix. So, when I saw this, it was just crazy. So, the first seconds of the fight of this 2-minute round is because 2 minutes times 8 is 16 minutes for each round. So, 7 minutes for water break. That's 23 minutes. So, stay tuned for a half an hour. Jake Paul quenches out Tyson in the beginning part. And Tyson... Jake Paul was taking it easy, just taking his hands, backing away, trying to tire Tyson out. Tyson also has some tape wrapped around his right leg or something, black tape or something. So, and there's moments with his balancing work, but at the moment he did throw an interesting punch that did hurt out his opponent with a left punch in that first round upstairs, and surprisingly Logan Paul throws in a right of his own which landed right into the equilibrium, wherever you call that moment that got Andy Ruiz Jr. to defeat Anthony Joshua in Madison Square Garden that year, whatever you called it. That, yeah. And the first round, well, I wouldn't say there wasn't a lot of punching, but Tyson, the time when Tyson did throw some punches, he did land them in a good way. And there were times that Paul, because the first round had nothing to do with it, and Tyson had that round. The second round was similar, but with a little bit more better work. Tyson demolished Paul in the second round. And at this moment, I was like, okay, this might be a really good fight. It seems easy. But guess what? Tyson gets tired pretty quickly in the third round, where he's charging after Logan Paul early in the fight, and Paul is just backing on, going left and right. He's throwing out multiple left punches, and he backs up Tyson. And this is the moment where I realized that Tyson is being a little bit on the defensive side a little bit. Like he's going forward for Paul, but there's times that he's backing up to the ropes in the defensive side. So which we never seen Tyson do. And then they showed us a replay during the end of the third round where we got a little bit of a two punch miss combination and then another like multiple left jab punches from Paul. Like the third round was pretty like take it for what you will. And we even see him through to a wild right uppercut and a missed left. So yeah, surprising or not. And then we come to round 4 and it's just this is the moment where Paul is starting to throw out multiple punches. They show us a replay of that great body shot they threw to Tyson. And guys, at this moment, I don't want to talk about this fight anymore, so I'm just going to get through with it. 50 seconds left of the 5th round shows Paul charging, and now Tyson is the defensive person right now in this fight. And he even backs up Tyson, throws a left punch downstairs, misses, but goes for a perfect right, knocks off like the mouthpiece of Tyson. And these 14-ounce boxing gloves are just like, I don't know. They're just not meant for knockouts. I put round 3 in the fight. And then they showed the replay of after Tyson threw a, like, I whatever you call it, like he threw a left punch right to the chin and backs up, and Jake Paul just sticks his tongue out like Gene Simmons. Like, God, someone, like, what is going on? And then we go to round 6, and we had someone interviewing someone and around at the time, which had to be Tyson's trainer, and Paul, like, Tyson was trying his best to stay alive, but now the crowds and the fans realize this, what they came here for. And, like, Paul at this moment barely threw, like, it almost looked like Paul almost threw maybe, like, a lot. Like if I had to count, he was throwing a lot of punches, but wasn't landing a lot. But that didn't matter because Tyson was throwing, like, less than 100 punches and barely landing probably 20 punches. At the end of the day, I gave Mike Tyson round 6 for that fight because that's me. The last 2 rounds, I was thinking to myself, oh, hey, look, maybe Mike Tyson will go for an unbelievable cheaty knockout and score a 10-8. That's not what we got. Paul is now just charging after Tyson. He's not throwing a lot of the dangerous punches hurting him, but he is. But still, at this moment, with 4 minutes left of 2 more rounds of a 2-minute fight, you might as well just go the distance because there's no point of hurting a 58-year-old man. They show us a replay of him throwing a couple jab punches left or right, left, and like Tyson, like, he's already hurt. Like he's backing up. He's tired. His legs are not. Like, his legs weren't there. Like seeing what that he had taped wrapped around his right knee and every time, like in the last round, around 15 seconds of the last round, I see Tyson wobbling like this, going left and right, and then he tried to dance, but then he almost looked like he slipped his right foot for some reason. It looked like he was shaking for some reason. Like, oh, brother, what am I watching? Like at this moment, it was over. Like, it was a travesty. And what made it worse, that after Paul did everything he did, the 10 seconds left of the match, he puts his hands up like this, bows, puts his hands behind his back, bows, and Tyson decides, instead of charging after him and going for a cheating move, he puts his right glove up and just does nothing. And at this moment, like, the bell rings, they both hug, and that's it. And the judges' scorecards: Lawrence Cole, 79-73; David Lubuski, 80-72; Jesse Riaz, 79-73. I was 75-77, favoring Jake Paul, but hey, who cares? By the way, guys, a friend of mine actually told me that after the fight was over, Logan Paul came into the ring and he said, "I'm going to kill Mike Tyson." And the interviewers were shocked and they backed away from that and pushed him away when Logan Paul threatened Tyson. Like, he wanted to fight. Like, they told him that, "Logan Paul, do you want to fight Mike Tyson?" Dude, guys, Jake Paul never said, "I'm going to kill Mike Tyson," but hearing Logan Paul say that to a 58-year-old man after his brother being taken on a guy that's 31 years difference of his age. That's, dude. Guys, say what you want about this, like everything going on. Like all we know is, guys, the controversy for everything going on here is just a huge discrepancy of stupidity. We went to 4 press conferences from May the 13th, August the 8th in New York, go to Texas on November the 13th, and then, well, Irving, Texas, and then go to Arlington on the 15th, and just. I really don't know, guys. And, guys, say what you want to, but there's just so much problems into this. Like, so Jake Paul expected purse was 40 million and Tyson was 20 million. Taylor is projected to earn 6.1 million, while Serrano claimed her purse was much larger. And after all that, she still lost. Guys, the total score points I had was 3.5 points with 3 scorecards that were favored me and 3 losses and a draw. At least I was 50% earned into my winnings. At least I scored 50% of the competition. But guys, it's even crazy that the Netflix technical issues stated that Netflix had been criticized for widespread technical difficulties that plagued the event's livestream, with many viewers tuning in were unable to watch the fight due to buffering, with many microphones and earpieces also experienced difficulties, with interviewee Evander Holyfield struggling to hear the host of the show because of issues with his earpiece. According to Down Detector, around 90,000 viewers were reported outages in the hour leading up to the fight. So none of this happened during the Amanda Serrano fight or something like that? Interesting. Guys, this is just one of the biggest travesty of boxing history, and it's such an abysmal, it's like, it's not funny. But guys, even though I was there watching the modern Renaissance man and his reaction, and his upsetting, him getting upset of being one of the 90,000 people that are experiencing this horrible technical issue, yeah, it stinked. All right, guys, we go to November the 11th in the venue Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia with the Mohegan Tribe Department of Athletic Regulation, with the event Latino Night, or as I would like to call it, the minimum weight mini Rumble in the Jungle. USA versus Thailand. America versus Asia. A man from America proving that minimum weight boxers belong there, while an Asian boxer has never taken on an American boxer in his entire career for over 12 years until now. Oscar De La Hoya and Benjamin Shalom are the promoters of the show, with Javier Razo, the matchmaker. The event, the Latino Night, and ladies and gentlemen, 6 fights on the card. What else can you say about this other than this being a surprising start of an event that we might not forget? But guys, I can despise of this as a real interesting event for anyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Latino Night is the inaugural. We already have the inaugural symbolistic. The ring minimum weight title is going to be fought for the first time in history, because I just realized this a couple hours ago before starting the podcast right now, that the WBO minimum weight champion Oscar versus WBA super minimum weight champion CP Freshmart Nyamtrong, they're going to fight for the ring mini flyweight title as the minimum weight. We already had 3 title defenses for Oscar Collazo, while Nyamtrong, 25-1, a guy that retired in July 2022 after he defeated Moonsri, a guy that was 54-0, undefeated in his country as well, became the biggest bum in boxing history as a biggest hype job competitor. And keep this in mind, guys, the last time we ever had a southpaw fighter that Nyamtrong has taken on against, and like I said before, guys, the last time we had Nyamtrong ever fought a guy that was in a southpaw was not long, because it was like 6 years ago, or make that 7 years ago, because this took place back in 2017 against a guy named Ray Loretta, a Japanese guy born in the Philippines, was a southpaw fighter, and he had failures during his final years in boxing after his loss against Niam Trong for the WBA belt. Um, CP Freshmart as Nyam Trong, well, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and now his 12th title defense took place on September the 7th, 2024, when he went to Australia to take on Alex Winwood. Two of the scorecards got him 114 to 112 when he knocked out Alex twice, had a score 113 even. The last time CP Freshmart left his country of Thailand, he went to China in July 2018 to take on a Chinese fighter that was the greatest Chinese boxer of all time and defeated him. But guys, at this moment, the only time that guys, Niam Trong, CP Freshmart never took on an American fighter. He took on a couple South American Argentina fighters, but he's only taken on Chinese fighters, Japanese fighters, a lot of Philippine fighters, and God knows Indonesian fighters and and he took on an Australia fighter 2 months ago, and he decided to say, I'm going to fight an American fighter. He was out of the ring for 2 years. And I can't wait to talk about this guy that was like George Foreman. Like, guys, Yam Trong is like George Foreman of the Rumble in the Jungle. It's so embarrassing. Can't wait to talk about it. God, this is crazy. So guys, I don't know what was the first matches, even though the show took place. I don't know if this was on DAZN. I will assume it is on DAZN. So guys, I never saw any of the fights other than some highlight fights. I will ignore Oscar Duarte Jurado when I favored him to win the super lightweight fight when he went 10 rounds of distance, with each judge giving it 96, 94, 97, 93, 98, 92 in favor of him. William Zepeda Segura is now the Mexican fighter number 4 in the lightweight, 28 years old. He's also a southpaw fighter. He was actually, now he's the WBC interim world lightweight title after he squeaked out a split decision after Tevon Farmer knocked down Zepeda in the 4th round, and he recovered with, Now we're going to see William Zepeda to become one of the first, another Mexican boxer that had a record of over 40 wins, and he lost. Yeah, I'm not lying. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the son of Cesar Chavez, the Mexican legend, 48 fights undefeated, lost. Canelo Alvarez, over 42 wins, some draws, he lost. Jaime Munguia, 43-0, I guess, lost against Alvarez. Gilberto Ramirez, 44-0, lost against Bivol. These Mexican boxers really like going undefeated 40-0, that I can't wait to see if William Zepeda, this guy that's now an interim champion after 9 years in boxing, if I was him right now, I would just fight 4 more times in 2025, take it easy, take on a champion, and then strip it, go to the next weight class, and probably go 40-0 until 2027, and then lose your fight. Because at this moment, Mexican boxers, it's just really funny. Also, a WBC interim world light title was scheduled for 10 rounds against a guy that's named Farmer, a guy with 33 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. And William Zepeda almost lost the fight, with 2 judges scoring him 95 to 94, with the other scoring it for Tevin. Like, I can't even talk straight. Even when I saw the fight in full and saw it, like, there were times, because after 3 rounds, William did win out the first 3 rounds easily, and he had to recover after the 4th round knockout, and he got obliterated. Well, not obliterated, but his opponent did better in round 5, in my opinion. Came out, finished round 6 and round 7 a little bit, round 8, and dominated round 9 with a score of 96 to 93, because the 10th round was favored for Tevon. I can't even talk straight. It was crazy. And then I voted for Arnold Barboza Jr. to be in my pick. So I'm now 2-0 for these picks right now. Arnold Barboza Jr. is a guy taking on Jose Carlos Ramirez, a guy that's trying to recover. They both had 30 fights in their career. The last 6 fights for Jose was a win-win, loss, win-win-win. And that loss was against Josh Taylor for the undisputed super lightweight titles, when after Ramirez was knocked down in round 6 and 7, and Josh won with all judges scoring at 114 to 112. So at that moment, he recovered. He's won a couple interesting fights against guys named Jose Pedrazo in March of 2022. He took him a full year later to take on some random dude that good luck with him, which was also for the WBC super lightweight title eliminator, but he decided instead of going straight to that weight class of the lightweight title, he decided to go from super lightweight title because to welterweight, because after he defeated Richard Comey a full year later in April of 2024, he was the WBC super lightweight title eliminator at this fight. But 13 months later, he decided to gain an extra pound and a 3/4 to take on Francis Barthélemy in the welterweight question mark, and won. And then he decided to go back in November right now against Arnold to fight for this. So Arnold Barboza's 30-0, but like both of these guys are okay. Both of these guys are 32 years old. Jose's 5'10", Arnold's 5'9", 72 reach advantage on both of the fighters. Orthodox for both of them, and at this moment, I will say though, guys, Arnold did a good job for what he did in the fight, and even though I'll give credit, like even though I did put my money on Arnold because he might bring out an upset victory, but I don't think Arnold is a great fighter in my opinion, but a guy that could make a tough fighter be that of a problem. So Arnold might not be a champion in my book, but he did actually prove himself in the first round. Even after the second round, when Jose did found some good leverage and a good win, and then Arnold came back in round 3 and say, hey, here's one for you too. Coming into round 4, we had a close round in round 4 for Jose, and then we come to round 5, and round 6 was all Arnold dominating him. Like the score was 4-2, and I was like, dang, this is gonna be a great fight. We come to round 7, it was. Jose comes back and gets another round. Round 8, we have Arnold winning his 5th round. Like one more round can settle it. And he dominated the last 2 rounds with ease with a score of 97-93, which one judge named Leszek Janausiak had it that score, but the other 2 judges had it 96-94, barely favoring him, Arnold, for the win. So at this moment, I'm now 3 for 3 right now, and that was just a lucky pick for me to get. I did have a pick for Ziad and Alamuyov, 6-0, taking on a nobody that was 5-6, only to now realize that fight is a waste of time because now that guy ended in a majority draw with 2 judges scoring at 57-57 even, 158-56 for my opponent. Oh, brother, I don't want to talk about that fight. He dominates round 1. Juan gets him back in round 2. He dominates round 3. And round 4 was a dominating round for Carlos. Round 5, I barely gave it to Juan. And round 6 was Juan. I had it 58-56 for Juan. And surprisingly, 2 of the judges just decided to draw the fight. It's crazy that sometimes you think to yourself that you can take on a guy that had that amount of losses, because Juan Carlos's last 6 fights was a loss, win, loss, and he takes on the guy that's 6-0. And even though Zayed, in my opinion, from Saudi Arabia isn't that much of a great contender, but even though his resume was blasé, except he did win to BMO Stadium in Los Angeles this August against a 6-7 guy, and that fight was going to be scheduled for 6 rounds, but against his fighter named Michael Buick. And after 6 rounds were over, the fight ended with 2 judges also scoring at 57 even, with the other fight going 59-55 for him. But then the majority draw was overturned to Alamov DQ win due to a failed Buick drug test, which is, oh my gosh, Lucia Butane did the same thing. So after watching that incident, I was like, oh man, if this happens again, Juan Carlos would deserve to win this fight. And guess what? He deserved to win this fight. Even though I didn't pick him to win, I'm just surprised that this fight ended in a draw. So yeah, congratulations for him. He's a bust, but yet again, not everyone's perfect. So, after 55 minutes, guys, the last two fights are just so interesting. And say what you want to about this, but guys, this made boxing a really hard thing for me to watch. Guys, I didn't want CP Freshmart to lose, but considering he was out of the ring, he reminded me of George Foreman, thinking that he can take on this American guy living in Puerto Rico. Was that right, Puerto Rico? Well, living in Puerto Rico, but he was born in New Jersey, so either way. Like, there's no way. Like, guys, Freshmart was 34 years old, 5'1", 61 reach advantage, 104 and 3/4 pounds. Same weight for Oscar, also 61 reach advantage, only he's 5'2" and 27 years old. 10 wins, 7 knockouts, WBO champion, WBA champion, 25 wins, 9 knockouts, and they're both fighting for a vacant ring title. And guys, I already put my money that round 8 was going to be the knockout win for Oscar Collazo because of how Ali defeated George Foreman 50 years ago. Like, guys, October 30th, 1974, Rumble in the Jungle, Ali wins in a huge heavyweight fight. I'm seeing this unification minimum weight fight, and I'm like, dude, Freshmart doesn't have no idea what the heck he's getting himself into. He has no chance of winning. He has no chance. And I look at the first round, and yeah, the start of the fight, like, don't get me wrong, the jabs were starting to pick up for both fighters, and surprisingly, but Oscar, there was times that he was doing an okay job. Like, the first round, they were just stunning each other. There were times that they were stunning each other in the middle of the fight, and then come 30 seconds into the second round, even though Oscar was doing the better landing punching combination. Keep this in mind, Oscar, guys, remember when I said when the Armstrong's last fighter that he took on against a Southpaw fighter was back in 2017 in July? Guess what? 7 years later, he is now fighting against a Southpaw fighter, and it's Oscar Collazo. And I don't think the Armstrong has any idea what he's going to do because I don't think he's going to do it. He doesn't have a chance to win. He hasn't fought a Southpaw in a long time. He's never fought an American. He's only fought a couple American fighters, a lot of Asians. He has no chance. And Oscar obliterates him like nothing tomorrow. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there were times that CP Freshmart was landing good punches, and even after the end of round 2, there were jabs happening every single way for Oscar. He was doing good jobs giving the game onto him. He was that good. We come to round 3, and for the next minutes, they're stunning each other, waiting for someone to make a mistake. 2 minutes later, we come to 45 seconds left of the third round. He had this crazy left punch upstairs by Collazo. He throws a body punch, body upstairs punch again, and Armstrong can't even stop it. He doesn't even have the moves anymore. He doesn't have what it takes. We come to round 4, and at this moment, Armstrong is trying to find the punch to end it all, but he's not landing punches. Power punches aren't going to help you win a fight. Throwing and landing punches and trying to protect your defensive side and trying to give your fighter a hard time is how to win a fight. Like, the 4th round was crazy because, don't get me wrong, guys, I will give credit. Armstrong was landing good punches, but he was having problems just keeping his head down and putting his arms like this. And even when it happens, Collazo can throw some good, clean body shots from downstairs. Good punches here or there, left, right. It was pretty hard to watch this fight. It was pretty hard. We come into the 5th round, and it's like, again, like, don't get me wrong, the 4th round still had a lot of dangerous moments, but I don't even want to talk about this fight. I don't even want to talk about it. And guys, you want to know what even makes it worse about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight? all of those 7 fights that were scheduled that day in Arlington all ended in decisions. Not one fight ended in a knockout. And guess what? This fight in Saudi Arabia, we have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 fights, and only one of those 6 fights ended in a knockout. And I'm surprised that my prediction was right. Because this right here, well, I wasn't right, but I wish I was. Like, I'm just surprised. Guys, I could talk about the last minute of that 4th round where Collazo actually pushed Nyamchong to the ropes and he just throwed some clean punches. And there was a moment during the last 30 seconds of that round where Nyamchong throwed a right, completely missed, went under Collazo, and then he just started throwing upstairs body shots, downstairs headshots. And Collazo was just that good, and he just had it. He was throwing everything he got on Nyamchong. And it was bad because even after several rounds, because guys, after 5 rounds, they show us the fight stats that 347 punches were thrown, 166 landed, 22 high impact landed punches, 48% accuracy for Collazo. Freshmart has 22% accuracy with 2 high impact landed shots, which were the best shots of his time, 59 landed punches out of 263. And those were powered by JABBR, for God knows what that is. And then we go to round 6, guys, and surprisingly, I was surprised. Where we just have this interesting moment where during the... so the first minute of the fight of the 6th round was just the same thing. Collazo was just backing him away, and Nyamchong, yet again, he was out of the ring for too long. He had no chance. And then he ducks, and then he picks his left hand and connects a clean, heavy hit on Collazo. It was a good punch for Nyamchong. I was surprised when I saw him. That was a quick blink if you missed it. Don't get me wrong, Nyamchong is a good puncher, but like, even though that punch he threw looked heavy, but it didn't seem like it was the punch that we saw. He was like the Deontay Wilder that couldn't throw a good power punch to end Zhilei Zhang, only for Zhang to end him. And then, seconds later, we see a heavy body shot downstairs for Collazo. He throws other multitude of other punches. He pushes his opponent. And then it just comes to an end. Like, there's just nothing I can say. It was like... every time Nyamchong misses a punch, Oscar had it in his grasp, and he had him. And Nyamchong is losing his balance, and with only 1 minute left of the 6th round, like, there was another good punch for him, but yet again, it just didn't seem like Collazo had it. Like, he had everything there. Guys, Nyamchong had good punches he was landing in the fight. He just wasn't landing a lot, and the punches weren't that good. And Collazo was doing a better job than him. And then with only 37 seconds left of the fight, Nyamchong is finally throwing left jabs. And then he goes straight forward to go for an interesting right punch to land the fight. Only he completely missed it by a foot. Oscar, on the other hand, ducked. He went back, went forward, and studied with this wild right punch right to the cheek, and it stumbled Nyamchong. Down goes Nyamchong. The referee counts to 8. He gets back up, and he backs up again. The referee tells him to come forward, check the gloves, and 20 seconds left of the fight. Oh boy, Oscar had it. Like, I was thinking to myself, oh, come on, Oscar. Just let this guy survive in 8 rounds. I was already putting my money on 8 rounds of the fight, the same way Ali defeating Foreman. Just don't end the fight now. Don't end the fight in the 7th round. Well, too bad he did, because that's what happened. He comes forward in round 7, and he just finishes it with nothing to care about. With 30 seconds into the fight, he was already messing with his opponent. Nyamchong is throwing multitude of high, dangerous punches because he knows that he's fighting for his life. And before you know it, He's throwing a punch as best he could, and then he studies with a left, right, misses, and Collazo tricks him and hits him in the head, and down goes Yamchong again. He counts back, the referee counts to 6, and he's up. And then 2 minutes left of the fight. Yamchong is just putting his gloves here, downstairs, upstairs. It just doesn't matter what left punches or right punches. I can't even study how many of these punches are going around for Collazo. And there was a moment where Yamchong threw a heavy left, hit the glove, and went for a huge right miss. He threw a wild right punch, and he stumbled with his right foot off the ground, and then he recovered. But at this moment, Collazo knew he had it. Like, Yamchong was fighting for his life. He knew he was in trouble. We go for a body shot, a tight body shot to the left, and then boom, he goes straight in for a right. And Collazo, like, the camera angle looked like that Collazo went for a low blow. He went right and then downstairs with a left with a low blow on Yamchong, but I guess the referee saw it was a body punch on the belt, but it almost looked like I thought it was a low blow. And then he goes for a 2-punch combination, right, left, down, and then body shot on the right, and the fight stopped. 1 minute, 29 seconds. Oscar is the winner, unified champion, and now he has 2 Philippine boxers that are also holding on to the WBC and the IBF. At this moment, are we going to see Undisputed? Are we going to see those 2 Philippine fighters with Melvin Jerusalem and another No One Cares right now? Are we going to see that? Well, I hope we do. It was bad. At the end of the day, guys, I just don't like talking about this. And at the end of the day, Yamchong had no chance, and he never did. He never had a chance. He never did. Face the fact. He had no chance. Collazo had more skills than anyone else did. And that's the truth. And I'm sticking to it. So we have Chris Balam-Smith from British, 20-1 with his first professional loss happened back in 2019 against Richard Riakapurtri, whatever you call him, for a split decision loss in that fight. But now he's coming back, winning multitude of minor weight fights, barely winning fights by split decision, majority decision against. He even defeated Lawrence O'Colly for the WBO title, and now he was the only guy that defeated Lawrence O'Colly, and I was happy about that, and that's it. And by 2023, he takes on a decent good fighter in December from Poland. Good win, and then he gets another interesting 17-0 win in June, and now he's taking on Gilberto Ramirez, a guy that's trying to recover from his Bravo loss. Takes on another guy for some reason named Joe Smith, and then come March, he takes on a WBA champion and wins. So good job for Gilberto Ramirez. What can I say about this fight? Well, guys, the fight had a lot to say, but I'm not going to get into it other than it was a fight. But yet again, I had nothing to say about this fight because, like, what else is there to say about this fight other than I just didn't feel like talking about this fight because of it. But I'll get to it as quick as I can, but I'm not going to explain every single detail because at this moment I just feel like it's not worth it. Oh, brother. At this moment, guys, there's nothing I can say. The fight was already guys, it was a one-sided fight, and I thought maybe Gilberto Ramirez had what it took at first. Like, Ramirez dominates nothing in the first round, and after Balam had it, I was like, well, that's the end. That's the end of it. He's not going to go. He's done. It's over for Ramirez. And guess what happens? He comes out and demolishes his opponent. He's throwing punches everywhere he can land. And when I say that, like, Gilberto Ramirez, after round one, when they were just studying away everything they can, Bilam managed to do a good job in round one that he got dominated in round two, three, four. Somehow he did good in round five, but not better than Ramirez. He dominated round six, seven, eight, nine. And he dominated round 12 and somewhat round 11. He did good. Round 10 was another round one for Chris, but yeah, so the score was 118 to 110. But the judges had it differently. Like Mark Gleason had 116 to 113, giving round 12 a 10-10. While Steve Weisfeld and Dion Duarte had it 116 to 112. And the fight itself, like, seeing how Bilam felt like he was doing a good job in the first round, even though there were times where Gilberto did block him, and he did push him to the ropes in the first minute of that round. Only he came back in the end of the final seconds of that round, and Bilam destroyed Gilberto in the final seconds of the round. But then you come to those other rounds, and like Gilberto, like even the time when Gilberto was getting stuck to the ropes because he was the one going, like half the time he was going clockwise, and sometimes they go left and they go right. But at the same time, guys, I really didn't know what to say about this fight other than Gilberto was doing a good job, and he started doing better and hurting his opponent more in round three than anyone else did. And it wasn't much of a fight, to say the least. But I think the real moment I would like to talk about is how Bilam Smith had a cut by the left eye. And even after 6 rounds of just total domination, body punches, and Bilam was throwing good body punches and good punches in those 6 rounds, but yet again, Gilberto had more of a great offensive approach than anyone else did. Like, they were both pushing their heads back like I was watching a Max Baer versus James Braddock, because back in those days, boxers put their heads together and they just throw punches. That's what I thought of looking at during that 6th round and any other round, and they were just rubbing their heads. It was, but Gilberto, like, at the moment, we did saw a little bit of interesting blood and other bruise marks from Gilberto at the time. And then by the time we get to round 7, with multitude of a bruise from the left of Gilberto, and somehow it seemed like Bilam was making a good comeback, but there were times that he wasn't getting a lot of stuff done. We even see a right eye cut to the left eye of Gilberto at one point. But yeah, again, who am I to judge? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, guys. My bad, guys. My bad. Guys. My bad. I'm actually an idiot right now, because after clicking on the video, the highlight as of right now, I just realized that Chris Bilam, guys, remember the photo of Gilberto Ramirez on BoxRec where he doesn't have long hair? Somehow he has similar long hair like I have. Well, in this fight, he has curly Josh hair from Drake and Josh. I thought I was okay. So Chris Bilam is the guy with a shaved head that doesn't have hair at all, and his trunks are CBS. Okay, guys, I made a mistake. I was actually paying attention. I was looking. You know what, guys? Let's just end this fight before I confuse you viewers more. I didn't know Gilberto Ramirez had Josh Nichols' Drake and Josh hair. I didn't know his hair was that friggin' long or something. Damn, Gilberto Ramirez has a really ugly haircut. That's an ugly hair. I did not know that was him. Like guys, when I actually clicked on their profiles on BoxRec, like, well, to be honest, Chris Bilam Smith, now I'm looking at his profile right now, and he has the same amount of hair as he does in the fight, so I should have saw that picture first before looking at Gilberto Ramirez, so my bad. I'm an idiot. Anyway, guys, let's just ignore it. So, round 7, we got that cut above the left eye for Bilam, the guy with the short hair, not the long hair. So, and then coming round 10, he gets him like for some reason, round 10, he gets a better work on him in that round, but for some reason, I wouldn't really say it was much to talk about. But yet again, I will say though, he did an okay job hurting out his opponent, but you think people thought he was going to make a good comeback, but those last two rounds for Gilberto were just that good. Like there were times that they were clinching and hurting each other, and he did push him to the corners sometimes. Even the final minute and a half of the final round, he did. Gilberto did push his opponent to the corner at one point, and he was just throwing these damn ugly punches. So yeah. And after looking at Gilberto's face, I don't know if he has any bruises because he has a shave type 3-day beard like I have. So I can't tell if he has bruises like Bilam. But yeah, there was a moment where he pushed Gilberto to the ropes and Bilam was finishing off with a bang. So yeah, at the end of the day, it was a good fight for what it was. But yet again, Gilberto did better, and I'm gonna have to start learning more about this in future time. Yes, guys. So, guys, the fight itself, there was nothing much special about it. It was just a fight, and that's about it. So, guys, here's my answers about November 15th and November 16th. So, guys, I just finally realized that the zone has always been run in Saudi Arabia. So all shows in Saudi Arabia have been operated by the zone, while the fight in Arlington was by Netflix. At the end of the day, guys, I really can't say much about it other than there were a lot of problems, but I'm sure we can learn from these mistakes in the future and something like this will never happen again. Guys, I will say this though, considering with everything being well said and done, I really can't say the least that I would say that anyone had business being in the ring. All these fights ended in decisions, and that's about it, except Oscar Collazo's knockout win with Freshmart in round 7, which should have been round 8. Still, at the end of the day, I really can't say for certain that I had everything in the bag, saying to myself, you know what? Why not just say that this was just the way it is? Because all fights were going to end in decisions. So that's about it. It's the way life goes. Guys, at the end of the day, we would like to see knockouts and great fights. And even though the female boxing fights were entertaining, for Melinda Watpool losing against Shadicia Green and Amanda Serrano losing against Katie Taylor, which I just thought to myself, the fight should be changed in order. And guys, I'm still waiting for some information to happen right now. I'm waiting for a drug test fail or some controversial boxing judge that accidentally scored the wrong judge, like how a judge scored 57 to 57 even for in a tie with Tommy Fury versus KSI, and KSI was upset until days later. They later realized that some guy made the score mistake. It was 57 to 56 for Tommy Fury, which meant it was a majority decision. It was just a unanimous decision. So I am waiting for something like that to happen. Who knows? Maybe Amanda Serrano might win out the belt or something. But yet again, guys, a lot of this information has happened. And for the last couple of days, looking these fights up right now, I really can't say for certain what we're going to witness. Other than, like, you viewers can say that the stuff I'm talking about is a waste of time, but you guys got to agree there's a lot of problems in boxing that makes you wonder, are we really looking at the best boxers of all time, or are we looking at a fraction of them that haven't had a lot of decent competition? Not just Jake Paul, but also Oscar Collazo's opponent, Yamtrong, CP Freshmart, or even our Saudi Arabian fighter that scored a 6-round draw yesterday in this show against Juan Carlos, or even Zapida William and his 30-second win for the WBC interim world lightweight title, or even Mario Barrios's robbed victory for his 2 weight class champ. Are we looking at good fighters, or are we looking at upset fights that just became a waste of time? For female boxing, I can't argue about that because there's not a lot of female competition yet. And I'll give credit for Jake Paul. He's doing an okay job giving the females a chance to fight and being in the big time. So I'll respect him for that. At the end of the day, that's all I can say. I think there's a lot of upset talent that we might find. But yet again, I'm gonna have to save that for next time. Guys, November the 23rd, we are going to be reviewing the Stardom, the Road to the Undisputed / European Heavyweight King event, live in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. Yes, and when I say Road to Undisputed, I mean the women's atomweight division with Tina Rupert taking on Iri Matsuda and Samira Yamanaka taking on Fabiana Baitiki for IBF Atomweight Champion, while the Tina and Iri fight are going to be the WBA, WBC, and WBO, considering the WBC champion is Tina and Iri is the WBA and WBO. So take that for what you will. And also, we heard that the IBF Youth Lightweight title is going to take on two guys that are hype jobbers in the lightweight. And after looking up crazy information of what I just heard yesterday, I can't wait to talk about this. Also, guys, we also have a guy named Mansoor Dilawar Zada, now ranked number 881 in the cruiserweight from Afghanistan. That's 1-0 with his first win against a guy named Milajo Rajic, aka Sakura Hagiwara, 0-14. He's gonna fight for the EBU European Heavyweight title, considering he's cruiserweight against a guy named Bartolomeusz Wlodarski, a guy with 2 losses and with 2 wins and 3 losses, and his competition aren't even heavyweight fights because he's rated number 112, 1217 out of in the super middleweight with fights that are waste. And these two so we have a super middleweight fighter and a cruiserweight fighter fighting for an EBU European Heavyweight title. What just happened to the original fight? Boxing. It's confusing, right? Well, guys, all I can say is we'll have to stay for update to see what's gonna happen. But by the time when this is all over, November 23rd, we'll see what happens. Because at the end of the day, guys, whatever's gonna happen, it's gonna get worse. And when I say it's gonna get worse, it's gonna get worse. Anyway, guys, I have a bunch of community posts. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to release, as I'm recording this on November the 17th today, I've actually released 3 community posts that are going to be scheduled. Like, I'm going to release one community post on November the 18th, 12 p.m. at my time for a community voting. And I'm going to release another one scheduled as well right now at 1 p.m. and another one scheduled for 2 p.m. So you viewers vote for... It's going to be a voting poll image poll. So good luck for wherever you viewers enjoy the most. And yeah, I'm just waiting for the 1 hour, 23 minutes and 45-second timer so I can just end this video with right now, because we have like 45 seconds left until the podcast ends. So what am I supposed to say now? Well, just have a good time, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, just thank God that you people are still alive today, and just hope God is behind your shoulder, just like how God protected me when a guy stuck a gun in my head yesterday. And I don't think I'm going to talk about that story, so probably for the best, I don't want to talk about what happened yesterday. But just pray to God that we're still safe, we're all fine, and just hope God will be protecting you in the future. So with that being said, thank you for watching this podcast, and Foxwolf is out. Bye-bye, everyone. 3, 2, 1, click.